Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
You still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph. It is YSGOAT News. It is Wednesday, July 21st, 11:10 p.m. Texas time. We're going to talk about the news, all that other good stuff, and we're going to do this until the next day, right? We're doing a double shift.
Driving straight through the night.
Driving straight through the night, the midnight hour, whatever it is. I don't know. I say this all the time, every episode. I don't know what, and you always tell me what the song is. It doesn't matter. Yeah, all right. So we're doing a double shift. That's right. We're gonna be done by like, I don't know, 1-ish.
Sure.
Thursday, 1-ish a.m., not 1 p.m. That's crazy. Come on now.
What do you like? We look like Jerry Lewis or something?
Yeah, come on here. This ain't no telethon. Jeez. What am I making, like a weird concentration film where I'm a clown and I lead people and then I make sure never to release that movie ever?
Yeah.
Come on.
Woof.
Yeah. I think even on he died a couple of years ago, and I think even on his death, like it says, like you cannot release this movie.
Yeah,
you know about that movie?
The day the clown cried or something.
Yeah. Oh man, but clips have been released. You could find them.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about this week, Joseph?
Oh, we have a lot going on.
Man, is that a good? Sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's not. It's usually not.
It's usually not. We're going to start with an interesting one. We're going to start with Bezos in Space, which was one of my favorite skits from the Muppet Show.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
We're going to talk about Bezos in Space. Then that he launched right out of Van Horn, Texas. So that's kind of a local news story for us.
Oh wow! Local yokel goes to space.
Yeah, when I lived in Florida. Usually that just involved like some guy sitting in a swamp taping a bunch of bottle rockets to a lawn chair trying to get into space. But this was an actual official launch into space. And then we have a bunch of subtopics about the coronavirus, which has gotten pretty ramped up over the last couple of weeks. We're going to talk about several things with that. Everything from the American Society of Pediatric Doctors recommending that all kids wear masks to school.
No, bad freedom.
Right.
No. All right, we'll get into that.
The kind of the right-wing media shift in tone on the virus and vaccines, which has been a little interesting.
It's very disjointed, though. For everyone that's we'll get into it, but for everyone that says get vaccinated, there's Marjorie Taylor Greene to say the opposite.
Right. And the really compelling arguments in favor of Medicare for all, which have been kind of oddly made by the right wing over the
they're very ironically, which they don't understand.
Yeah. And then so after the coronavirus stuff, we're going to kind of shift into another section, and we're going to talk about the 1-6 hearings or the 1-6 committee and a lot of the stuff that's been going on around that. People are starting to get some jail time for their role in the insurrection. Kevin McCarthy tried to put on Jim Jordan to the committee. And
I don't know why. We'll get into that. I don't know why Nancy Pelosi was against that. Jim Jordan had so much to add to it,
Right. And
it's interesting too that he voted to basically deny Biden to be president. So, I guess you don't want to invite like the wolf to the, I don't know, the open house for the Three Little Pigs. Invite the wolf in.
It's not a great idea. And so there's kind of a bunch of subsections to the insurrection segment, and then we're probably going to finish up by saying a few things about Loki that we didn't get to last week or that we've thought of since, and then we'll call it night or an early morning.
Yeah, I guess early morning. Yeah, we'll try to get this up as early as possible. Depending on what time we finish this. Latest will be up. It'll probably be like what, 8, 7.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say.
Go on, you, Joseph.
Yeah, right. Yeah, usually depending on when we wind up, I'll set everything to kind of process, and that takes a while. And depending on how late it is, I will either do it this early in the morning, like around 1 or 2 or
early in the morning.
Yes, or early in the morning, which will be around 7 or 8.
I always consider 1 in the morning still nighttime.
It is. It's basically nighttime.
Yeah, come on now. Not till like 4 in the morning is when things start to get a little weird.
Right.
1, 2 in the morning, it's still nighttime. 3 in the morning, you probably should have went home. 4,
I'll tell you, for me, like, it stops being nighttime when I stop wanting like pizza and beer and start wanting like French toast and coffee. Like at some point in the evening, it's like, I don't want a beer anymore. That's morning. You know, it's more, you've passed into morning. Like,
it's that weird transition time where beer and coffee meet and pizza and French toast meet.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like at a Denny's, like you can tell when it's morning because you look around and you start seeing more, coffee and less like Michelob Lights or whatever they serve. They're like,
all right, well, let's get into it. So I mean, it's cool, man. It's great. This year's been awesome. Like COVID's gone and everything's back to normal. I got vaccinated earlier in the year, and I've just been going out to the Kid Rock's restaurant, and maskless, of course, because I ain't no damn sissy boy.
Right. Yes.
I mean, I'm fine. I think. I don't know.
What, does Kid Rock really have a restaurant?
Yeah, he does actually have one. I think it's in like Nashville.
Oh, you're right.
There was like during the whole COVID thing, he was one of those. He's a COVID denying shitbag.
Yeah,
and I think his restaurant was literally like ground zero for like COVID in Nashville or something.
I thought he just opened up a Chudruckers franchise.
Chudruckers. Don't you mean Fuddruckers? No way.
Oh, no.
I mean Chudruckers.
Chud E cheese.
Chud E cheese. Man, I'm trying to think of other like restaurant Chuddies, like Chili's.
All there.
Chudleys.
Chudders instead of cheddars. They're all there.
Cheddars, yeah. Chud E cheese. Pizza Chud.
Oh, yeah.
Chud's
well
really
before we get into we wanted to briefly talk about Jeff Bezos shooting himself into space.
Oh yeah,
right? I mean,
he's this good old boy. He's just a guy. He's just a guy
man.
who had a dream. He wanted to go to space for 5 minutes, and and he did it. Not everyone gets to live their dream. Like when Homer Simpson interacted with Grimy.
Yeah.
Homer invites Grimy over. I think we should do a podcast on that episode. This is the Grimy episode of The Simpsons. If you guys haven't seen it, I think it's like season 12 or something. It's around that.
It's a really good one.
It's possibly one of the best episodes I've ever seen. It's one of the smartest episodes. I mean, it's literally about how our country with meritocracy and all that is just complete bullshit.
Yeah. It's a great episode.
It's such a good episode. But there's that great part when Grimy goes to Homer's house. Homer invites him to the house, and he sees a photo. Well, after seeing that, like Grimy sees his house and his kids, and he's like, "Oh my god!" Like him, like his house was a castle, and I mean, that's the funny thing about The Simpsons is like when we watched that show as kids, like we were told as an audience that like they were low class.
Right. Yeah.
But like they have like a full-size house.
Yeah, like a real nice one.
They're doing better than most Americans. Like they're living the American dream. So that was like the joke. And you never really thought about it in that episode. And then Grimy's looking at all the photos because The Simpsons, Homer interacts with a lot of celebrities, and there's that one episode where Homer goes to space, and Grimy's like, "Wait, you went to space?" And Homer's like, "Yeah, you ever did," or something like that. I don't know. I posted it. I posted it after I saw the Bezos thing. So they announced it back a couple months ago. I'm sure they were planning it for a very long time. Him and his brother. Yep. I didn't know he had a brother.
I didn't either.
People were tweeting and making jokes that his brother looks like the porn version. If there's a Jeff Bezos porn, that his brother, that's the guy that would be the
Yeah.
porno, which is really funny. And yeah, they brought do you know the woman's name they brought?
It's her first name is Wally. And
Wally the robot?
It's like Wally.
Wow.
I want to say Funk. She's got like a very, Wally Funk.
Okay, she's like in her 80s or something, right? She's like someone who basically was denied going to space or something back in the day in NASA.
The funny thing is that's basically a plot line from this great show called For All Mankind on Apple TV. I've talked about it a few times.
Yeah.
One of the major plot lines is that there's a woman who tried to be an astronaut. They kind of drummed her out because they weren't going to let women be astronauts. And then later on, she got a chance to go into space. And it's basically like a plot line from that. It's an inspirational story. I guess she lives near here in Grapevine, too.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Was she at the Stop the Steal rally?
I was just gonna say she's probably
residents went to that.
She's probably like a guest lecturer at the Ayn Rand Institute.
No, yeah, I mean, there's got to be something bad about her if Bezos brought her. Like, sorry, there just has to be. So then, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. We brings her. It's like a cool little outreach. And like, I'll make this. I'll extend this gesture and bring this, woman that was denied. This person who should have been and there was no reason for her not to go, and I'm gonna give her the opportunity. And I'm glad that he did that again. He was like, I'm gonna extend my hand to another person. I'm gonna bring the youngest person in space, which he did. And I thought that was great. Was it some like protege child who like maybe won many scholarships, like probably like really smart, probably has like a lot of probably wasn't dealt a good hand, maybe, or like a foster kid, maybe, or someone that comes from like a broken home, like, but like is a genius, and like they Bezos maybe would like bring him in as like a project and have them work on projects. Because Bezos wants to save humanity, of course.
You're way off track here.
That's not what happened.
Think less Charlie Bucket and more Richie Rich. That's
kind of Veruca Salt.
Yeah. No, he got a trust fund kid from the former colonial power of Holland, right? Like
yeah, he got an 18-year-old Dutch boy who's the son of a venture capitalist, and I guess he paid like 28 million or something for his son to go up there or whatever. I found that like funny, and so it just shows you like how much this man must live in a bubble and not give a fuck. Like, they always say things about like optics and stuff like that. Like,
Jeff Bezos is post optics.
He doesn't give a shit.
No,
Jeff Bezos can do literally anything. Jeff Bezos can eat a child on screen.
He's like answer the door nude post optics.
And people will still buy. Like, people would see Jeff Bezos say like every racial slur while kicking a toddler in the teeth, and people would be outraged. And then literally within minutes, they would probably order something on Amazon or Zappos or watch something on Amazon. The many he owns like more companies than you could imagine. Like, I didn't even know that Amazon owned Spotify. Spotify. I didn't know Amazon owned Zappos. Like
the shoe company.
Yeah, like there's so many companies that he owns. Like, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm just saying, like, even Amazon, like, he can do whatever. He's like you said, he's post optics. He can do and say whatever. It doesn't even fucking matter.
Well, I'll tell you, we had a light burn out this morning in the kitchen, and it was the first time it burned out. So I unscrewed it. I'd never seen a light bulb like this. Thing's shaped like a fucking rhombus. It's got like 6 prongs. I had it in my house by 2 p.m. I ordered it off of Amazon. So I don't know. It's like a pretty compelling service. But
was this after you saw Jeff Bezos say every racial slur in the book and kid in the teeth?
It is
weird. Do you need that? I mean, I could go to the store, but I do need that light.
When I saw the crew of what was the name of the rocket? It was like Cock One or something. Yeah. It looked like the cast of a TV show, like Lost in Space or something, or Galaxy Quest.
Some artist or something I don't really. I'm not going to name this person, but he
Yeah.
like made them look like the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, it was like this really old wise person that probably was a legitimate astronaut, and then you had like the millionaire, and then you had like Lovey
millionaire's
Howell,
brother,
the
the millionaire's
professor.
porno version of himself.
The kid was basically Gilligan, you know,
But like
or
rich and
yeah.
like, yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like
if Gilligan was also the guy, what's his name? Who's the rich guy on the?
Thurston Howell.
Yeah, like if
Yeah.
Thurston Howell was a child. You know what I always loved about Gilligan's Island was like you would think going on an island would be the great equalizer,
Right.
but like that wasn't the case. Like the Howells still had like the nicest hut.
Yeah.
Like Gilligan and the skipper like were in like weird bunk hammocks or something in a little hut, and like what's the hot girls had their huts
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, they did.
And then the professor was like in a cave or something. But like Thurston Howell and his wife had like the nicest hut, and you'd be like, what are they? I mean, like I don't know. Like
the history of the
I just
world
you would
is
think being stuck in an island would be the great equalizer, but no.
No.
They're like, no, we got to build these people a mansion hut.
A lot of people point to Gilligan's Island as the defining moment in which Marxism was proven. You know, like the history of the world is the history of the class struggle. You can put them on an island, it's not going to matter. That's like it's
clearly you have not read up on Gilligan's Island.
Exactly.
The lost chapter of Marxist theory.
You're not up with critical Gilligan theory, which has been banned in 48 of the states.
Yeah, they don't want you to learn about critical Gilligan theory in school because that will just open the door to like Maynard G. Krebs, and that'll just be chaos at that point.
I'm torn with the Jeff Bezos thing, like in three different directions. One, I love stuff like this. I love rockets in space, and
you like rockets that look like dicks.
That's much the better. When I see that giant shaft pulsating upward through the atmosphere,
most rockets do have a phallic already. They're tall things, but they usually don't have a fat end.
Yeah,
this thing had a fat end. Like it why did it have? It had a literal fucking what do they call that? A bell? And then why did they make it purple?
It would not have taken much to make it a little less dick-like.
It had that blue line going up in the center, and there were weird squiggly like coils on the outside. Again, I don't understand how that makes it dynamic. Like, you know what I mean? Like fly, but.
Well, I'm torn between loving stuff like this, like rockets in space, and also kind of liking the idea that like this is probably, you know, a good scientific endeavor that's being subsidized by a rich guy. Hell, I'd rather him like help us learn how to fly rockets than shoot wildlife on the Serengeti. That seems like a much better use of money.
Sure, I guess.
And then the third part, and this is kind of a big one, is that like the cost of this was just insane. It was clearly a dick swinging move where they just wanted to be. They were in space for so little. I'm not sure.
We're even looking outside.
I'm not sure what was gained, and for that amount of money, you could have. I don't know what you could have done. You could have. You know what you could have done? What did they spend on this? Like 25 billion or something?
I don't even know. They could have funded like programs for years.
Here's what you do: you buy a whole bunch of affordable housing in South Dakota. Fly a bunch of people from California there. Boom, South Dakota turns.
Yeah, but that's not in Jeff Bezos'
blue.
interest to make Jeff Bezos. That's not in his interest to have.
True.
That would.
That's my new theory, though, is that the Democrats should find a state that's very sparsely populated, and just buy a bunch of homes and move people there.
Yeah, but those states have like very little electoral votes to begin with. I mean, you would have to really
Senate.
Yeah, true. But again, that's not up to. I would say, if I don't know, instead of going to the space, how about like I'm gonna fund like school lunches for like the next decade, and like so that kids don't go hungry and they can learn and be properly nourished, so that they could help people, get to space. I don't know. There's all kinds of things, and it was so unimpressive. Like, we've seen rocket launches all the time. Why is this a big deal? We've seen much more interesting rocket launches. They've been doing this for decades.
I was going to say, that's the other thing, is that they were doing this better like 60 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yeah, like,
I mean, it's
and a couple of weeks ago, who cares? Because Richard Branson did something similar. I guess Bezos went a little higher up. Like, they said Branson, like, I guess by NASA's terms, what NASA declares as actual space, Branson did not actually make it to that part.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you could, like, go outside at that. You probably would die. But it's like, it's not considered. There's like a belt or something they call it, and he didn't really go past that. I guess Bezos did. Again, though, it's just like, and then Bezos was interviewed after. It happened like so quickly, It's like, I think it happened so early that
I watched the whole thing like right before work. It was like an hour long, so
like, he's interviewed after. He's wearing like some stupid cowboy hat, like was in the movie Armageddon or something. Yeah. And he's like, I want the, I'm thanking all the employees and all the, people who shop at Amazon. I couldn't have done it without you. And it's like, dude, like, Amazon to me is an interesting company in that I feel like they benefited more than any company in decades. They received so many like tax credits and like, there's like, you heard these stories for years, like Amazon wasn't even profitable or something.
Right.
Like, they received so many like different advantages that other companies weren't given.
Yeah.
And his employees are pissing in bottles. Like, they're never going to space. Like, and then what did he say when he said that we should like colonize, like not colonize space, but like basically work on getting all the polluting factors or something into space. Like, where are you doing that? When is this happening?
Yeah, it seemed, I don't know. He's completely out of touch with like real life, anymore. I don't know. I mean, like
a douchebag. Like, he really does. Like, even when they were talking to him, he just sounds like an arrogant asshole. Yeah. I'll say this though. I like him better than Elon Musk though, because the thing I can't stand about Elon Musk is how he has like that weird cult following.
Yeah. Well, and also like, I use Amazon pretty regularly and I don't have a Tesla. So like, Jeff Bezos is actually like
you buying like, your order of your frozen pizzas that you get from Amazon, so you can make your
pizzeritos.
It's a little more affordable than a Tesla.
True. I'll say this, I guess, like, as my last thought on it, is that like, it used to be that very wealthy people might, go to an island and hunt a man, or it's like,
well, there have been rich people in the past who would like, build libraries.
Yes, right. That's true. There were also like, wealthy people that, like Carnegie or whatever.
They actually like, museums and music halls and stuff like that. Bezos going to space did absolutely nothing for us.
Right. I'd say that it's neutral. It's certainly not good like building a library, and it's certainly not bad like hunting a man. But it's somewhere in the
middle. When has billionaires hunted men that's not in fictional stories? I mean, I'm sure it has existed.
I am sure it's happened.
I'm sure it has, but that's like silly territory.
Well, okay.
I would say that watching this and them doing it and seeing like they're not even looking outside, they're just floating in this bell end of this rocket, and they're just throwing ping pong balls at each other, which you can do that anyway. I don't, whatever. But like, you're not even looking out the window and being like, oh my God, like, this is I am like nothing. I'm looking out the window and I see the earth and I'm like just a little speck and I'm up here now, and like, and there's nothing else like for me to be in. Like, this is it. Like, and maybe it'd be like an epiphany and it'd be like, oh yeah, we need to like respect this planet more or something. And they say like astronauts when they go up in space and they see that it's like the death of the ego or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't doing that. And like we were talking about this beforehand, before the podcast. You said that this place is like in our area that they could have went to just go float for like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, I go to this place called iFly. It's out in Plano, right off the interstate.
Are
And
you kidding? Or
no, you pay like $40. It's like down.
When did you go to iFly?
Gosh, this was like probably 2 years ago.
Okay.
I haven't been since the pandemic, but yeah, you get in a giant suit, and then basically
aerosol air.
they chuck you in a tube, and there's like an airplane propeller at the bottom of the tube with several layers of like wire mesh above it, and it's like
so you don't fall into the propeller.
Yeah, so you don't
scatter into 1,000 pieces.
So you don't Cuisinart yourself, and then they spin it, and you just like float, and it's you can go pretty high. You go like, I mean, the experts can go like 80, 90 feet up or something, but like I went like 12, 20 feet up or so. I mean, like, it's fun.
But you didn't go to space to do that.
No, but
I'm just saying, it was like so. We'll end this on that. It was just so. It's like, who gives a shit? Who cares? Like, we're not colonizing Mars. I think like this whole Mars thing, like they've like learned that like humanity won't even be able to like exist on Mars. Like there's like a radiation level or something insane. Like, well, like there's all this been like, it's fiction. Like the idea of man being on Mars it ain't gonna be in our lifetime.
Yeah, probably not.
It's not going to be in our. Might not even be in our grandkids' lifetime. We need to focus on here.
I was my dad and I were talking about that this morning, and he was saying, basically, that's where I got that comment about red lights working or whatever. My dad was like, we started talking about Haiti, and he was like, until you get a place like Haiti fixed, like what makes you think you're going to be able to have a space colony? It's like just the logistics of it and getting things to work and having people survive. He's like, I just don't see it, and my thought was that like, it's inevitable that we go into space, whether it's 500 years from now or 1,000 or whatever.
But it isn't going to be like the way people think in the next decade.
No, I don't think so either. But like you imagine that future, then you work your way backwards.
If NASA wasn't defunded the way it was over the years and it actually had the same funding that it did back in the 60s and 70s, we would probably be on Mars already. We probably would have like been in all kinds of different things. We would have been way more advanced. The space station would have been huge. I just think it's bizarre that like, I feel like we like took a step back. Like they're making a big deal about these flights or like a stupid rocket that Elon Musk will send up or something. And it's like, it's not impressive. Oh, it's private industry. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Dude, this is like, I don't think that like, that's not like, what, so we could send more douchebags into space so they can throw balls in the air? Like, I mean, in their knob? Like, that's not anything. Who cares? Like have them focus on more important things. Like, it was so unimpressive, and the news just gives him so much media attention. I know we're talking about it, but fuck, we're only, I mean, we're gonna discuss it. It's part of like everything going on. The YSGOAT listeners demand this content. They need it. They demanded the content. There was people in what was it, where we do good in Ukraine or
the Czech Republic.
Yeah, they're like, who is this Jeff Bezos guy? We're here to tell you. I'm just saying, it's like, it's not impressive. It's like this. I feel like the imagination of people have been sucked out the window. Like NASA always meant something. It was like a great like.
I agree. If we had if we had kept funneling money into the space program, and maybe if the Challenger hadn't exploded or whatever, and people lost their appetite for the risk, we probably would have people on Mars right now,
or something close to it, or something with the moon more, or who knows? It doesn't even matter. Like the imagination. Like I always look at the Iraq War as like something where I'm like, that was like trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, even just like besides, the humanity and
just
death
fighting
and
over
destruction.
fucking sand. you know?
We're fighting over nothing. That was
Yeah.
a complete nothing. Like, think of like, when people say like, oh, we were funneling all this money to NASA. Yeah, but at least it's like for something. They could learn about like viruses.
Yeah.
They take viruses into space and they learn about them. How they can, like, all this information they do there is not like, you ever hear those stupid, like, and this will lead into COVID. All this stupid, like, I always used to hear these stories of like people talking about like money being misspent. You'll hear this thing like, did you hear they did all this money? They spent all this money to study the effects of ketchup or something. And I'm like, I don't think that's probably what you think it is.
Right.
It's probably like, hey, like, how do we make it spicier?
Right.
I want it a little more tangier, and we need to funnel as much goddamn cash in there.
Yeah.
To get that extra tang level.
The stuff technology program from the Oreo department is just
right. I mean, do you think you got to mega stuff from nothing? You gotta fund that shit.
Yeah.
Like there's been like crafty 9-year-olds have built their own mega stuff by taking 6 Oreos and combining it to a very disgusting lint-filled cream pile. But that's disgusting. There's like spores and bacteria from that.
That's why you do it in space. Yeah, in a sterile environment.
Right, exactly. No, but in all seriousness, I'm just saying that like you always hear this bullshit thing, and I feel like all that kind of rhetoric, it gets like thrown around like it's a joke.
Yeah.
But I think it's all meant to destroy like, government funding and like suck the imagination. It's all like, fuck, we talked about like Ghostbusters and stuff, and like that movie was like loaded with anti-government. Right. It was like a libertarian's dream, that movie.
Well, that's the thing is that like, and I always said this, we've talked about this on the show, that at some point some rich person drove by a school and was like, shit, there's a lot of money in that, and then they started privatizing schools. That's what
well, they've privatized schools for other reasons too.
Yeah, but there's a big recent modern effort to privatize schools.
Yeah,
just
not
to make
privatize.
Money.
They use the other word. What is it?
Charter schools.
Charter schools. Yeah. Private schools have always this, but charter schools is like a kind of a new, sexier version of because people are like, I don't know what that is.
And the same thing with private prisons. Like someone drove by a prison, is like, I'll bet you I can make $1 off those people's misfortune or whatever. And the same thing happened with space. Is like it is kind of bullshit that now the space program's being privatized.
It's like what they're doing is not impressive. We've been doing it for like this. I'm like, Jeff Bezos going into like, it's not impressive at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all. I was just like, so whatever. I mean, let's just go back to our cruel reality. Which is the never-ending pandemic.
Well, yeah, the first 2 items we have on this list, I guess I'm looking at them now, and I guess they're kind of like, they're not exactly the same, but they're hand in hand. One is that coronavirus cases are on the rise, and that is true, that regular old original recipe coronavirus is on the rise. And the second item on this list was that the Delta variant is going bananas. And that's also true. So you have
the Delta variant is like the 32X for your Sega Genesis.
Yes. Yeah.
It sucks.
Well, it is true. There's still plenty of people that catch the actual coronavirus. The good old fashioned coronavirus.
That classic one that only murdered almost 1 million Americans.
Yeah. So there's that, but then even people that have been vaccinated, gotten fully vaccinated, are sometimes, not often, but sometimes catching this Delta variant, which is, if you're unvaccinated, the Delta variant is incredibly brutal. But if you're vaccinated, you can still catch the Delta variant, although it may not be as brutal as if you're unvaccinated.
Basically, people who are getting it or like that, they're getting sick, but they're not dying.
Right.
Like, the people, they just get vaccinated, guys. Seriously, like, this is like getting ridiculous. Like, they're not putting there's no microchips in the vaccine. They don't need to put a microchip in the vaccine. because you probably already have a phone or some
Yeah.
kind of cellular technology. You probably use credit cards. You probably use all these things that they could track you with. You probably have an Alexa or some other device in your house.
Every
Your
time you
TV is
return, yeah. Every
you have a
time you
smart
return one of
TV.
those Jeff Foxworthy DVDs to the red box, you're alerting the government as to your whereabouts.
You're alerting the government to what Walgreens, CVS, or other place that you're at right now. Like they literally, like every app that you download now, it has like a new update. Every app I download now will say, "Can we keep track of you?"
Yeah.
And I usually say no. But guess what? They're probably still keeping track of me. I mean, they're tracking my usage still.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, if that's your reason I get a vaccine, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, you're an idiot. I can't like if you have like severe health problems or something,
Sure.
Fine. I get that, but like, stop being a butthead.
Well, there's a good article. I saw it on Twitter. I think it was
change your genes,
it
dude.
was
You drink Monster Energy drink. You probably
it was a
years ago.
it was a doctor from Alabama, and she was talking about how she is seeing a lot of people dying of COVID in her town in rural Alabama. I think it's like Bug Spittle, Alabama.
I love that. That's my favorite area.
And
next to cicada fart, Nevada.
Well, in Bug Spittle, a lot of people are catching this, and she said that often she sees someone who is vaccinated and catches this new variant, and they get briefly ill and then they recover. And she said she sees other people that catch the coronavirus or the Delta, and they get intubated. And she's like, the last thing they say before we shove that apparatus down their throat is, can I get the vaccine? And she's like, it's too late. You already have it.
You can't. Or there's this delusion that people have that think that, like, oh, I got COVID like a year ago. That's great. You're still going to get it. Like, it's not. I've gotten colds.
Yeah.
You get colds all the time. I got a cold and I got a cold a week later. It happens.
For what they believe to be true about the coronavirus, everything they must have ever observed about illness must be wrong. I mean, like, it's just remarkable that they.
Well, it operates differently. The delusion that people have that, like, oh, it only affects fat old people. And it's like, you know what? That fat old person might survive, and you, Mr. Health Guy, might drop dead from it. That's how COVID works. You can have some guy who smokes 30 packs a week, fucking drinks Thunderbird wine and eats like Slim Jims, and he'll like treat the COVID like it was like just a one day flu or something, 24. And the guy who like jogs and like runs and takes supplements, he'll get COVID. He'll need a double lung transplant.
Yeah. Well, it's like
yeah, go ahead.
Everyone knows of a person who smoked like 4 packs of cigarettes a day until they dropped dead at age 95. And we all know of like these unique outliers or
they're my favorite.
Right.
Uncle Stinky.
But on average,
Uncle OTB.
On average, if you are vaccinated, you're less likely to catch it. And if you do catch it, you're less likely to get very sick. And on average, if you're unvaccinated, you're more likely to catch it and you're more likely to drop dead. That's it. That's the truth.
And the worst part about it is that, like, you're hearing like things in the media and stuff like that where they say like the pandemic is now the pandemic of the unvaccinated, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of makes it like a little bit like ingest a bit like, oh, it's just a bunch of idiots that like refuse to get vaccinated. They think the government's going to spy them.
Right.
And if they get it and stuff, some people be like, haha, you get what you deserve or whatever. And it's like, no, those people are endangering us it's not a unique, like, oh, they don't get vaccinated. It's just them that get sick. And they're the one, they'll just, what they say, like they'll just deplete themselves or something.
Yeah, right.
Like that's like the joke but that's not.
No.
What happens is they probably will carry it, and then they're going to give it to their kid because the vaccine is still not ready for 12 and under.
Yeah.
And that's the big fear, is that like it's not the when you say it's the unvaccinated, you have to include children in there, because children are at risk here, and school, at least in our area and a lot of parts of the country, is starting up in like the second week of August, and that's getting really close. And we live in a state where the Governor Abbott, put a mandate that like you cannot, the kids are now, like, not that they're not allowed to wear masks, but you can't like even like ask. You can't even ask. There's teachers, I heard about this. There's teachers in our area. They have to like, they can't wear a mask. They have to like come up with a reason. They have to get like the doctor, which is absolutely insane. Like that should be a choice. If like the teacher wants to just wear a mask, they shouldn't have to go through a fucking loophole. Like the hell, Abbott is such a ghoul. Like I hope that
I know it's tough. You can't hope for anything terrible to happen, but
right? You don't want like, oh, terrible to be like, oh, I showed you, but at the same time, it's just gonna.
Yeah,
it's a very contagious disease. I think the Delta variant supposedly like has a much quicker dormant. That was always the problem with COVID. That was always my big issue with COVID was, and why I think a lot of people didn't take it seriously, was that the people wouldn't get it till like weeks later, and they would forget what they did, or they don't remember, or who they were around with, or
it's hard to trace it.
And you don't take it seriously because you wake up next day, you're like, well, I'm fine, and then you find out like 10 days later you're not. And with the Delta variant, supposedly people are getting like symptoms within days, like 2 days, like the way colds and stuff operate. Like,
well, it is weird. The next item on our list said, I have it here, is the American Society of Pediatric Doctors. Just a couple of days ago, started recommending masks for everyone in school. Kids, adults, vaccinated, unvaccinated. They're saying that if you are, 4 years old and unvaccinated, wear a mask. And if you're, a 25-year-old teacher and vaccinated, also wear a mask.
I mean, they're going to be indoors all day.
Yeah.
You're going to be indoors all day. This isn't like, oh, I went into the store for 20 minutes and I just got some quick groceries and I ran out.
Right.
And you didn't wear a mask. Well, I still think you should wear one, but there's a huge difference between running through the aisles and getting the hell out of the store real quick and being stuck in a classroom all day with the same group of people breathing the same air.
Right.
And being in tight areas where like the transition and hallways and stuff. It's a huge difference. People don't realize that. Like the one thing I heard actually, and this is where, the private sector could help a lot. Not for the schools, but in businesses and stuff, is that people who refuse to get the vaccines, their jobs are actually making that decision for them. They're basically saying, like, you want to work here, you have to be vaccinated. And I honestly think that should be how the schools are. I mean, the schools usually are. You're supposed to be vaccinated to attend like public schools. Like, I mean, I know they have like religious exemptions. They have like some BS and stuff. Sorry, people use their religion to deny the existence of germs and bacteria and life. But like for some reason COVID became a huge political football for the right wing to like throw around and laugh about and make a big joke, like in this bit, because they've just been contradicting themselves like crazy for the past like 2 years, basically, with COVID. Like it's just been they don't take it seriously. They don't think it's real, or they want to say it was created in the lab in Wuhan or something. But they also like it's a chemical weapon from China, but we also don't take it seriously, which like if it was a weapon, maybe you should. Like there's so many contradictions.
It is real bizarre. We had that on our list as something we wanted to talk about, how the right-wing media apparatus and right-wing politicians are real confused as to what they should be saying about the coronavirus now. I know
like the other day, Sean Hannity went on TV and told his audience that he thinks people need to get vaccinated, talk to their doctor if they have to, whatever, like take it seriously, like he says he believes in science. And I would say that, like, if I was the average Fox News viewer, I would have been very confused at that moment.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, if you're watching Fox News all the time, watching clips, whatever, it's like a regular news. It is your news. And let's say you watch Tucker Carlson or Lauren Graham. Is that her name, Lauren Graham?
No, Lauren Ingram.
Laura Ingram.
You're thinking of,
let's say Ilsa the She-Wolf.
Ilsa the She-Wolf, or Lauren Graham. She's one of the Golden Girls.
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Anyway,
Lauren Ingram. That's it. They're constantly pushing anti-vaxxers.
Oh yeah,
constantly. Tucker Carlson has made it part of his like program for months now. It's like constantly attacking people for getting vaccinated. And this motherfucker, you know, was vaccinated. You know he was.
Yeah.
Everyone in Fox was vaccinated. Everybody.
Yeah, they probably just came around. A corporate nurse came around and gave everyone a shot.
Yeah, and I don't know, there's like confused messaging, you know. It's like Ben Shapiro supposedly told people to get vaccinated, but like, you know, he has Candace Owens working for him on his network, and she's constantly tweeting how no one's getting vaccinated in her family and like spreading misinformation on. So it is very inconsistent on the right. It's like they wanted to use COVID denialism and anti-vaxxer at like every month they need like a new distraction.
Yes.
Like when Biden became president after the January 6th, after the January 6th night, which we're going to talk about in a bit, the right were like, well, we don't want to focus on that. We're going to focus on like made up controversies, like books that stopped being published by Dr. Seuss.
Sure.
That no one was reading in decades anyway, and talk about cancel culture for months, and it didn't really work. And then they started talking about like other bullshit, you know, attacking trans people and stuff. And
nothing is stuck.
Nothing, because it's nonsense or it's bullshit. But now what they've been doing is like they literally are committing like chemical warfare by like getting people to not get vaccinated.
Yeah.
And helping inflame this virus from like, this was supposed to be the year we were supposed to like get back to normal and not get back to normal. Like you hear that like, oh, we should get back to normal. But I mean, like, a functional society where, you know, we can go on vacations again and go to the movies and go out to eat. And there's been people who've been doing that the whole entire time during the pandemic. They don't give a fuck. But
a return to normalcy is kind of the general gist of it. Yeah. I don't know. It's we were talking this afternoon about like what was driving this, and I know an easy thing would be to say that the Biden administration has been putting pressure on social media companies and on media companies in general to like start reporting accurately about the virus and the vaccine. I joked that they probably see their stock portfolios tumbling, and they don't like that.
There was a crash the other day, right?
Yeah,
like a crash, like
like a
decline. And honestly, and here's the funny thing too. I think like this is where the elites in the right wing, like the media figures and the politicians and stuff, the reason why they'll change their tune is because they want the stock market. They care about the stock market. Now you would say like, I'd almost be like, oh, well, having the stock market crash, like they would want that because they would want that to happen under Biden, right? Like that would hurt them in theory. But I think they probably learned over the years, especially under Trump, people don't give a shit about the stock market. The average person doesn't give a fuck. Well, young people are like, unfortunately, crypto is definitely started sinking. But people were putting their money in that bullshit. Like people don't have faith. Like there's people who were like, I don't care. Like Trump would talk about how great the stock market was doing under him. It was like, I don't care. I'm still working the same shitty job. I'm not getting a raise. I'm not benefiting from some asshole collecting dividends. Like,
the stock market is such an abstract thing to so many of us, you know. But it's true that we're all, a lot of us are invested in the stock market one way or the other, even if we don't think of it that way. But it's just so abstract, you know. It's like, I don't know. It's like worrying about your cholesterol. It's such an abstract thing. It doesn't hurt,
but like I said, the average person doesn't really get they don't really receive the gains of a strong stock market. They just
Right.
don't. Like they're not getting a raise at their job, and not like somebody else will be like, oh, they get to keep their job or something bullshit like that. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
but like to the average person who's working like a shitty job, they'd be like, I don't care. I'll just
Right.
go work in another shitty job. Like,
It's
I
true.
don't think that the right wing. I think the right wing realized like that's not like a strong talking point. They want the stock market to see because they're all like either heavily invested in it or it's just stock market's like a representation of capitalism to them. It
Yeah.
kind of, I mean, it pretty much is, right? It's like the most like
Yeah. It's a
stock
very
market,
recognizable symbol. Sure.
right? Yeah, it's like, and I think that's why they're trying to tell their. But I guess like if you were a viewer of this stuff, wouldn't you be confused right now? Wouldn't you be like, wait,
Yeah. Well,
what's the message here?
it's a U-turn. They never did get a full, and that's one of the modern problems of the modern Republican Party is that they don't really have a platform other than raising the middle finger to anyone trying to do something. I mean, like,
Right, but it has a detrimental effect because they can create their own reality, like from like a stupid, like a dumb way. But these, in the end of the day, you still breathe the same oxygen.
true.
We all breathe the same oxygen. I mean, I'm pretty sure we do. We're all still people.
Yeah.
We still intake food and we need to store energy. We all poop.
Right.
As the book says we need water. And we also die of, horrible diseases and viruses. We all do, and they're gonna die also. And where are these? What states are getting hurt the most too? These motherfuckers' own states that they're like all the red states is where it's blowing up.
Yeah, it's the Bible Belt basically.
Like, I don't know. I don't know where it goes. I don't. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have nothing else to say about it. I just think it's bizarre. Like Steve Scalise got vaccinated or something. He's second to Kevin McCarthy?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the guy who was famous for getting shot during the Trump years.
Baseball
He got really
game,
hurt, and he could have died. And then he still like doubled down on protecting guns or making sure kids could still get shot by every gun in the book.
Yeah.
He what did he claim? He said he got it because of the Delta variant, but
he said like he got it because it made sense now, and a lot of his friends are getting sick. Or he kind of like mealy mouthed his way out of it.
But it's probably a lie, and he was probably vaccinated back in December, like pretty much every other congressman.
Yeah. You were talking this afternoon about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She had given conflicting answers about her vaccination status.
She was spreading COVID misinformation. She basically was kicked off Twitter for 12 hours.
Yes.
Twitter should just fucking get rid of her. Like, I'm sorry. Like, she spreads, all she does is spread COVID misinformation and just misinformation in general. It's all conspiracies. Like, she's a fucking freshman congressman who can't even be in any committee. She has literally no power. The only power she has is to demand media time and suck money out of the tax dollars wallets. And she let me see if I can find I think I tweeted about it, but like,
are you looking for like a price chart?
Some like bullshit, like did like a little press conference thing. I could play it, right?
Yeah, I think those are public domain.
CBS News. Whip Scalise said today he got vaccinated, citing this Delta variant that's going around, and said he's confident that it's safe and effective. Two questions: have you yourself gotten vaccinated, and do you disagree with the Republican?
Well, your first question is a violation of my HIPAA rights.
HIPAA rights.
HIPAA rights. We don't have to reveal our medical records, and that also involves our vaccine records.
And do you disagree with?
Okay, so that's not true.
Yeah. It's not how that works.
And also, she was that fucker was vaccinated.
Yeah,
he was vaccinated. Like, she was. Come on, that's her way of saying like a person who is an anti-vaxxer wasn't vaccinated would say, of course, I would never let that. I don't want George Soros to tell me what to do. Whatever. Right. I don't want Bill Gates to decide. They'll tell me which Cracker Barrel I'm going to eat at this week. Sorry, I don't mean to. the demean,
Sure.
the great but come on, that's like.
Well, yeah.
I'm not trying to be a dick. I mean, does it say like if it quacks like a duck?
Yeah, that's the rule.
It goes to Cracker Barrel. All right, so yeah, I mean, like, so she was kicked off, but okay, HIPAA rights.
Yeah, that's just such a weird thing. I knew about those. I worked at a hospital for a while, and we had these rights. The patients had these rights, I suppose, I guess would be the way to phrase it. And it was basically just a fairly straightforward privacy thing, but it has nothing to do with like private businesses or entities asking for your vaccination status. I don't know.
That's bullshit. She's full of shit.
It's weird how like confident she is with her answers, even though they're completely wrong.
Here's the fucked up thing about her is that she's become like a huge fundraising driver for the Republican.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the Democratic Party has to have a strong candidate to go against her in her district because I know, like, you hear this bullshit, like, oh, well, she's a great fundraiser driver for the Democrats. But no, she isn't. Like, it'd be better if she was just not in the Congress. Like, it would be better. It'd be a lot better. It'd be better, too, because guess what? Like, if the Republicans take the House in 2022, which, unfortunately, due to the census, gerrymandering, voter suppression, it's a good chance they might squeak in and take the House. That fucker will be in the top of the party. Yeah. They will totally bring her to, like, Kevin McCarthy will make her one of his like top 5 congressmen.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I mean, like,
I just think it's important to like they need to concentrate on these districts and get these people out. They're fucking cancer. Bobert, they're cancers. Like these people are like. They don't add anything. They're like, Jim Jordan, like any of these people, they need to like just focus on them. I mean, maybe, maybe these districts are not winnable for, it's.
Well, I mean, I guess this is kind of like a transition to the next section because we're talking about these insurrectionists, basically.
Yeah, we're not. I still have other things to say about. But yeah, we're almost there. We'll get to that in a minute. But this is what I wrote after they supposedly. So she basically got to have a little press conference because she was kicked off of Twitter for 12 hours. Ooh, I was kicked off of Twitter for a week because I suggested Gorka needs to.
Oh, that's right.
Sebastian Gorka needs to take a parachute lesson, but forget his parachute. And I got literally kicked off Twitter for a week.
That's crazy.
I got kicked off Twitter for a day because I said on the View's Twitter that Meghan McCain was some like fake Ma Clampett character or something.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that. I'm like, I've said so much worse shit on there. And I'm like, these are the things I get. So I wrote, why won't Twitter just boot Marjorie Taylor Greene? She's a freshman congressman that has no real power in the House. She gets paid by our tax dollars to spread lies that gets people killed. I'm sure many terms and services were broken. The right's going to complain either way. The right wing is going to complain no matter what. So fucking just get rid of her. Like, get her off of Twitter because what are they going to do? They're going to bitch and be like, they're going to bitch anyway. I said we have an out-of-control pandemic because of misinformation spread by evil ghouls like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's an evil ghoul. She's a fucking ghoul. Like, this isn't like a disagreement. Like she was harassing children from Parkland years ago. She was spreading.
Yeah, she was stalking that David Hogg.
Yeah, she was like spreading lies about the QAnon nonsense. This is the kind of shit that gets people killed. Like this isn't like this isn't a disagreement. We can have a conversation about this. No, she's a fucking evil ghoul. Yeah. So I said that. Evil ghouls like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Every day Twitter allows her to spread her evil lies. They should be held responsible. They should be held responsible for letting people like that flourish on their page and spread lies about COVID. So I got retweet Michael Hayden of Southern Potty Law Center retweeted he tweeted it and he said, Twitter won't suspend Marjorie Taylor Greene because they like her.
Yeah.
They like people who make their users feel angry. When you feel negative emotions, you click more and stay logged onto Twitter. They only ban when they get scared it might hurt their business. Well, then we got to find a way for it to hurt their business by having a fucking ghoul like that flourish.
Yeah. It is, I don't know. It is weird. Like with someone like her, if you shut her down, I don't know. She kind of gains martyr status, but they do.
Well, yeah, like somebody, and we'll get to this in a minute, but like Nancy Pelosi, saying that they're gonna like prosecute. They plan on prosecuting like anyone connected to the six.
Yeah.
And I tweeted a thing and I posted like Boebert or something, and someone said like, "Oh, Nancy Pelosi doesn't have the balls to like or whatever the guts to call out Boebert." I'm like, that would be stupid for her to call out Boebert because all it would do is just like one, it would elevate Boebert, and it would just make her a big, huge fundraising drive for the Republicans. It'd be better to just, give her papers and like after the investigations are done and be like, yeah, you're arrested or something, or you're on trial. It'd be better to just do that and like not make it a political, because if she were to call her out, it would make it completely political, which it is, but you know what I mean? Like in a dumb way,
right?
Like media, like where it makes it stupid and then people would come out to defend Boebert and everything. And then it would like, it's kind of like how like Kyle Rittenhouse, like killing those people. Like, if that thing didn't get put, he'd probably be in jail still. He wouldn't have been, he wouldn't have these people that would have bailed him out, Ricky Schroeder, because he would have been a nothing. People would just be, he's just another criminal in jail for killing people. But he got elevated. And I think it's like, I don't think Pelosi should mention any of these people's names. I think it's like, we know who they are.
Yeah, it is. And
I think from a legal standpoint, you really can't. It could hurt your like case.
Yeah.
They say like when you're like there's lawsuits like suing or whatever that you can't say anything. If you say anything, you're like, oh, let's end this on this one. This one's really good. Then we'll go into January 6th.
Okay.
Dr. Okay. Did you see Fauci? Hold on. Fauci go off on Rand Paul?
Yes, that was great.
This is so good. This is great. It's like this guy's been like put up with so much shit for years now.
Oh God, yeah.
COVID, and it's like I'm so done. He doesn't have to worry about anything anymore. He doesn't have Trump up his ass anymore.
And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially.
Rand Paul is talking
about. You do not know what you are talking about. And you are implying that what we did was responsible for the deaths of individuals. I totally resent that. And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you.
Yeah, that's pretty gratifying.
Senator Paul, you do not.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. Rand Paul's a piece of shit. So
it's terrible, And Fauci's fought the good fight for as long as he could. I mean, I feel bad for the guy.
Well, they made him, that was it too. It was like the right wing were pushing, like, what was it? Oh, DeSantis came out today and told people to get vaccinated. Didn't he come out today and tell people to get vaccinated?
I think he did. I'm not going to say 100% for sure on that, but I think he did.
And all these assholes were like pushing the whole "Don't Fauci my Florida,"
right?
And all this bullshit. It's like, so they want to have this like, like middle finger to everybody, but at the same time, like they're just kind of spite. What are they like? Cutting your nose to spite your face?
Cut off your nose to spite your face.
Hold on. Here's the last one. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I just wrote little known fact. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an escapee from night at the museum.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that picture.
I did. I saw that you did a side by side of a cave person and Marjorie Taylor Greene. The weirdest thing I saw was when she did that tour with Matt Gaetz or whatever.
Oh my God.
There's a photo of her without shoes on, and it's hard to notice at first. Like I admittedly, when I saw the photograph, I just looked at it and kind of went on. But then all the comments referenced that she had Fred Flintstone feet, And she totally does. They're like weird rectangular,
like a cave troll or something. Like,
Yeah.
listen, you know, I know, like, you shouldn't like, you shouldn't attack a person in their
No,
appearance.
of course
or
not.
anything like that. But come on now. I mean, like, there's got to be like she's a horrible person. You know,
She's really bad.
like she's literally like one of the worst people currently in politics right
Yeah.
now. And like she is literally represents the end of like having a person like that in power. Like it would make you wish for the good old days of like Sarah Palin or
Right.
something. You know, like this is
Yeah.
not a rational thinker. I'm gonna play this last one.
Yeah.
This is this guy Walter Masterson. You can find him on like TikTok and Twitter and everything. This guy's awesome. He trolls. He goes to like MAGA rallies and stuff.
Oh,
and,
I think I've seen him.
Tends
Yeah.
to be like a Trump supporter or whatever, and he
Right.
just gets these people to like talk and lets them talk, and then he kind of talks to them, and
Yeah.
they end up agreeing with him, and they don't realize that he just totally like debunked everything they said. And he says like he wears like he dresses up in this ridiculous like American
Right.
flag outfit, and he doesn't. And they're like, "You ever wear a mask?" He said, "Well, I'm fully vaccinated, but man, he's probably like thinking about now with the Delta variant." But he said like, if I wear a mask, they won't talk to me. Like, if I wear a mask, then it gives away the game. Like,
Right.
like that's how they are. Like, I have to like go maskless at this thing. He went to like a school. It was so funny. He went to like a board meeting or whatever. They were talking about critical race theory or something, like indoctrination of our kids. And he said that like he won't let kids get indoctrinated or something about like critical race theory, but he thinks that all the kids should have to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and everyone was cracking up at the board meeting because you know that's indoctrination.
Yeah.
So he was like trolling this board meeting. And actually, I was thinking about that, you know, with Abbott, like all these ghouls in our Texas, like instead of worrying about how our kids are going to be going when they go back to school, they were more focused about like, you know, making sure kids don't learn about the Klan.
Yeah.
And not like not learn about them like want to join. More like, hey, these guys, like schools are not allowed to teach how in Texas, I guess according to whatever they just pushed through. They can't teach how bad the Klan is or something.
Yeah, they cannot. Teachers in Texas can no longer teach that the Klan was morally or ethically wrong. Which I don't know why you would ever talk about the Klan unless it was specifically to talk about why they were wrong.
Right?
Like why? How would that ever come up? Unless you're going to, you know, argue that they were horrible. The other thing is that it used to be that Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail was required. Yeah. It was the best of preserves. It was the that used to be required reading, and it's no longer required reading. That was a real
good. That's good. You know, that's you know, because we don't need to anymore. You know,
well,
like they'll say things like that. We don't need to do that anymore. You know, we're at a moment now. We're in a post-racial. You would hear that bullshit. Like we don't need to have affirmative action anymore. We don't need to have voting rights anymore because you can vote. Everyone can vote.
I can tell you as someone who taught before, I'm generally all in favor of like not mandating anything being taught, like certain things, just because like a letter from a Birmingham jail was obviously it's an incredible historical document. Martin Luther King Jr. is an incredibly important historical figure. And it's a great piece of rhetoric, you know, but like I taught a class of like 95% Latino kids from Mexico and Guatemala. And if I were able to have substituted out a Cesar Chavez piece for Martin Luther King Jr., I might have done that because it would have been like more relevant to the people I was talking to.
I guess I get your point. I was gonna make a joke and say that you didn't want them to read about Martin Luther King because it contradicted your you know, your beliefs on how great the Klan was. You know?
Right.
Like, you can't teach both. It can't be like, well, now that you read this, I'm
teach both sides, let the kids decide, you know?
Yeah, that always ends well. Always, and there's two sides, just like Fox and CNN would say back there in the Iraq war in the beginning, there's two sides to everything.
Yeah. Well, so I can see again like how this might work well in limited instances, but that's not what they were doing.
This
They
is an
weren't.
act of, this is meant to harm and
Yeah.
to be cruel.
It's meant to be cruel. It's meant to be shocking. It was
And
meant to
it's
appeal to
a-
their base.
Yeah, take that, critical race theory.
Yeah,
We're not
yeah.
even gonna let you. We're not even gonna tell you the Klan's bad.
Right.
But they were doing that. They care more about that than they do our kids like dying of getting COVID or getting really sick. Little kids are dying of it. Little kids are getting it. We talked about this before. Like a 5-year-old just died recently of it. We laughed out. We saw some like 80 woman who was like a Trump supporter who was like a huge COVID denier.
It was Linda Zuern, a former member of the Bourne, Massachusetts Board of Selectmen and a leading Trump supporting figure in the local Republican Party, died of the coronavirus while actively spreading coronavirus conspiracy theories. So,
I mean, like, it's not shocked about that, but like,
no.
It's still really deadly.
It's sad. Like, look, some 80-year-old batshit crazy grandma dies. I'm not like inhuman. That's sad. But like, man, it would have been cool if she hadn't been actively trying to kill a bunch of people in the
right. Yeah,
last
exactly.
days of her life. You know,
right? Like, that would have been cooler, right? Like, if she wasn't spreading lies for reasons that we'll never really understand why. Like, it almost does it almost is like an act of cruelty and bullying. That's what it is in a way with these people when it comes to like spreading lies about COVID. It is like they get to say something mean about fat people or mean about people.
Yep.
Oh, you didn't. It's because you're just not a He-Man like me. You know what I mean? Like, it's that bullshit they try to push.
Yeah.
And again, that's not how COVID works. It doesn't care who you are, and it's killing kids, and that's why it's like our Texas legislator were more focused on making sure that people didn't learn about like history or anything like that, and not worried about like how we're going to keep the schools safe for from the pandemic. They don't care. And then I guess we'll just end this on this, and we'll go into January 6th.
Yeah.
So that guy Walter Madison kind of went all over the place, but he went to, I guess, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz have been going on this weird like tour or something.
Like a fundraising tour, yeah.
But they were in California recently. I think they went to like an anti-trans rally or something.
I think they were here in Texas too, not that long ago.
Yeah, the cops were like beating the shit out of the people who, I don't know if you saw that on the news. The cops were beating the shit out of the people who were the counter protesters.
Yes.
So I guess it's summertime, and when it's summertime in America, that's cops beating the shit out of people. I mean, usually it's a year-round event, but during the summer is really when they like, you gotta double down on it, But Matt Gaetz, this guy Walt Madison went to, I guess it was like on a beach or something. This is amazing. All right, let me see if I can. Hold on, I gotta start it over. Okay.
Oh my God, I'm so excited! I'm so excited! I mean, everyone thinks you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy. People think you're a pedophile. I don't think you're a pedophile at all. I don't think he's a pedophile at all. The charges against him are totally false. They're totally false. Oh my God.
Nice.
Like, it's so amazing. Like, he basically, we don't have to explain visually, like, he got to go near Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, and that's when he said, "You're not crazy." And I don't think she picked up on anything you were saying.
Right.
Being called crazy is not, but when someone screams, "I don't think you're a pedophile," really loud 6 times, and you see Matt Gaetz' face, like it's like his soul left his body or something. Like, he was like, and they like came and took this guy away. He hasn't posted anything since then. I hope the guy's okay.
Yeah.
But that was awesome, because why is Matt Gaetz still in Congress?
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
How is this guy, like, and the thing is, like, even if he's in litigation hell or whatever for years with this whole, child sex trafficking thing, how is he still in Congress though?
Yeah,
That's
I mean, like even 10, 15 years ago, people would have taken a leave of absence or stuff. But that's a key defining feature of that MAGA death cult, is that they just don't have any shame or,
Like, if it was
self-respect.
boys, Matt Gaetz would have been gone. If it was teenage boys,
Probably.
not teenage girls, Matt Gaetz would have been.
Yeah, they always say live boy or dead girl. That's what they put in.
And now I think even dead girl might not stop
Okay.
these guys from leaving power. What was her name? Hill? She was Katie Hill or something. What was her name?
Katie Hill, yeah.
Yeah, Katie Hill had a little basically like
She had a fling with a staffer or something.
Yeah. And she left her office in California.
Yeah.
She left her congressional office
Yeah.
over that. And it opened the door for a Republican to come in and take her seat.
Yeah,
Like,
Al Franken left over a skit.
Yeah. Like, I mean, supposedly other things came out about it. But I don't know. I hate defending one over another, but the Katie Hill thing, I think, is complete horseshit. Like,
yeah. She was jerked over for sure.
I understand why Al Franken ended up getting kicked out. It was all around that time of the
it was the worst
election.
And it was the worst possible time for.
It was done on purpose because it was a Roger Stone screw job.
Yeah.
The woman that accused him was a known right winger. Not defending him or anything like that. There's more to it than
there's some different sides to it.
There's a lot of politics involved with that. But again, I bring it up just because it's like when you look at the big picture and stuff like that, you're like, how is these people leave? But this piece of shit is literally like, there's evidence. There's a guy who's going to jail. Like, and this guy's still in power. Like, it's one thing, like, okay, why is Matt Gaetz not in jail? Like, that's one thing. But it's like the main question is like, how is this guy still in office? And this guy voted on he voted to deny the election on January 6th. He's one of them, like Jim Jordan and stuff. I mean, we could just start talking about January 6th now. And
a lot's happened over the last week or two. We saw someone go to jail or prison, I suppose, or agree to a prison term. We saw the committee kind of form and the Republicans nominate some people, and then they got kicked off and they had a temper tantrum. We've seen that it just seems like a lot of things have begun to ramp up, you know. Was that the January 6th political prisoners evening prayer that I read so much about?
Yes. The guy who went to jail, it's so funny, is before, like, you see his picture of him at the January 6th thing, and he's like, he looks like not my cookie,
right, yeah.
From that president, nigga. And then you see him at, like, after his case, and he just looks like, okay, children, now we're all gonna perform Lemon Tree. Like, his hair is like here, and he just looks like a music, like, he looks like an orchestra teacher. It's really funny. Like,
well, I will admit, like, this was an interesting guy, because this guy,
he's great.
he got 8 months, and he seemed like a hideous chud, but he was at the Capitol, and people got a right to go to the Capitol and protest and stuff. You know, I don't like them, but like,
you're usually not supposed to break windows, smear faces, cut off fingers of guards, and a lot of,
and kill a man. But he went to the Capitol, and then he entered the Capitol building, restricted area, stayed for about 15 minutes, then left. And he got 8 months in prison. And I think he should have gotten more. I really do. But, like, I don't know. I mean, like, look, 8 months in prison for doing that seems like...
There's people who go to jail for way less and go for much longer.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think in my head, those are two separate issues. The popular one people are comparing is this woman in Texas got sentenced to 5 years in prison.
Oh, for voting.
For attempting to vote.
For an address thing. I think it has something to do with, like, so a kid could go to, like, a school or something.
Right. Well, there's that one. Then this is the one I'm thinking of. She was like a felon, former felon. That I don't know, something was weird with her voting status. So
It's bullshit.
I
mean,
see that as like bullshit. Like she shouldn't have gotten any jail time at all. But like, yeah, if you compare this, the rioter to the voter, the rioter should have gotten much more than 5 years. I don't look at it that way. I think I think they're two separate things. I think obviously the woman who voted incorrectly should have gotten 0 time. Like that shouldn't be a criminal offense.
The 8 months though, there's a lot of people think that this guy probably turned in a lot of people.
Yeah, he's a rat. They're all rats.
I mean, they all are. Like, remember that guy? The other one was Enrico Otario from the Proud Boys. He also is facing because they defaced a church in Washington D.C. like right before the January 6th. They like burned a Black Lives Matter thing or something, but they defaced a church. And the funny thing about, unlike Antifa, that is not a thing. I mean, it's the right wing have created this boogeyman. Proud Boys is a thing. They have chapters. They have addresses. They collect money.
Email lists.
They have lists. They generate money. They have merchandise. There's a lot of things. And when these idiots go, when you make yourself a like incorporated or a thing in some way, you also make yourself liable.
Yeah.
And Proud Boys are known for being incredibly violent, very destructive, causing a lot of shit. And they decided they could get away with going to a church or something. I think this was in DC, and defacing something they didn't, a Black Lives Matter thing because they're a white supremacist group. I know someone will say, but Enrico Otario is I think Cuban or something. And I'd be like, okay, you can still be a white supremacist, and you could be a white. Listen, you know what? You could be a black guy. You could be a Jewish guy. You could be whatever.
Yeah.
And if you're going along with what they're doing, you're a white supremacist.
Yeah, that's true.
It's still the same. You're still pushing the same agenda. I don't care if you're green. Like if you're still pushing the same fucking agenda, I don't care what you claim your ethnic background is. Like if you're pushing a misogynistic, racist agenda, fascist agenda, fine. We're not saying you're a white supremacist, but I'll say you're still a fucking Nazi.
Well, you're part of the machine. Like if you are a person of color and you join the police force, that can be
you're cracking people's heads open just like your fellow white officer is. That
can be a great thing, or it can be, I'm just going to help lend cover to this institutional racism, or I'm gonna participate in this institutional racism.
You're still, it's like Clarence Thomas in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
He's not there to raise anyone. He's there to serve a purpose.
Well, it is weird. So, like, I guess circling.
Well, I'm sorry. I was going to say about Enrico Otario was that he's like a known rat, actually. He was like an informant, I guess, for the cops for years. Going back to the January 6th thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm surprised more people haven't gotten arrested yet. I don't know. It's weird.
I am too. I mean, there were certainly more than 500 people there. I think ultimately the 8 months for this guy, if I'm giving him every benefit of the doubt, that's not the end of the world. I mean, like 8 months in prison, that sucks. I mean, like you're going to be a felon.
I saw odds. He could be killed in the first day.
Yeah, get a swastika tattooed on his ass from J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah. Pictures of Spider-Man and swastikas. That's right. I remember him. He started out in that show.
Yeah.
He was evil as fuck.
He was, Vern, I think.
Vernon Schindler or something weird.
Like, I don't think it was Schindler, but it was
Hitler. He was the leader of the neo-Nazis, and he was man, he is an evil character.
Yeah. Well, 8 months in prison sucks. I mean, like, your life is taken. I mean, it just sucks. So
you're a felon now.
Yeah, you're a felon. You can't vote.
But people are like wondering, is this guy even going to serve his full 8 months?
Well, I'll argue, and again, like I don't want to get into the comparison game because I think a lot of the people that are in jail or in prison shouldn't be there at all. Like, if you got caught with marijuana, it's ridiculous that you're in prison.
Well, especially now with like how it's become this huge commercial thing for most of the country, and people have like make it like it's nothing now. Well, if it's nothing now, then people should not be serving jail
Right.
time for it at all.
But there's always these disparities. Like if a cashier slips a $10 bill out of her till into her pocket, she's probably going to jail. And if a CEO steals $10 million, he's probably going to just make restitution. You know, I mean, like,
and then he'll get like a nice severance package anyway.
Yeah.
Golden parachute. Or if you're a guy who supposedly either wrote a bad check or had a counterfeit bill, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead now. But if you
right.
try to like assert democracy, you're celebrated. And
well, if you like, there's a spectrum here. So like 8 months, I don't have a huge problem with that.
I don't really. I mean, he wasn't like one of the main.
No, it's just
people.
some asshole.
Just some fucking asshole,
yeah.
and he deserves more. But like, I hope he's just the start of more, and I hope to see that there are people who serve longer terms.
Oh,
I
yeah.
also I would like to hope. I mean, you probably will never find out, but again, he probably ratted out people, and that's why he got 8 months.
Yeah, I think that like that is a good start, and then you go upward from there. So like people that broke windows or assaulted cops or whatever, they should probably be getting like 10 years or so in prison. You know, I mean, like that's a big, serious deal. And it's just funny as hell that they're all ratting each other out, and they're all like sitting in prison crying and shit. And I showed you that one Twitter account I follow, and like they're all like whining to their lawyers about like being subjected to verbal harm. I'm like, what the fuck is verbal harm? You know, like what do you
these are the assholes who probably spent like the past 6 years with Trump running and being in office, going on the internet, calling everyone a snowflake,
wearing t-shirts that say "fuck your feelings,"
and
like laughing at people,
retard snowflakes.
Yeah. So here they are in prison demanding a safe space, and wanting trigger warnings when the guards talk rough. You know, I mean, like, I'm sorry, cry me a fucking river. You know, I mean, like, look at your behavior. Look at the fact that you stormed the Capitol and tried to steal my vote. Me,
for Trump,
my vote,
of all people,
for Trump.
He's a doofus.
So I don't know. I mean, like, I'm all for a redemption story. I'm all for look, if this guy legitimately woke up one morning and was like, what the fuck did I do? You know, I was like I was living a normal life as a
I don't think that's the case.
Oxied out electrician, like most of my family and my 18 half cousins, and you know,
I don't think that's the case.
Well, I'll bet you he woke up at one point when the lawyers came to him and said they want 5 years. I think we can get you 2. I'll bet you at some point he was like, ooh.
I'll tell you a bunch of things.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so yeah, we got the first guy or whatever. And then, okay, so now the committee is happening finally. And, we'll see how serious this is. I guess it is serious because Pelosi, I think they're taking it seriously because she denied, Kevin McCarthy wanted to put Jim Jordan on. The guy, Jim Jordan, is a toxic piece of shit who's also a huge Trump sycophant. And there was some other guy. I forgot the guy's name. But the other thing
is Jim. It's also a Jim. It's like Jim
Wells or something.
Jim Butler, Jim Hall, or Jim Indiana. That's what I'm going to call him.
Jim Indiana. Jimmy Jiminson.
Right. It was some guy. It was another guy named Jim. He's a congressperson from Jim Banks. That's his name.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I said Jim Well.
Yeah.
Well,
close.
Jim Bucket. They both voted. They basically right before all this nonsense started on January 6th, there was this performative bullshit that day where the Republicans started basically put into question the election.
Yeah, they voted against Pennsylvania being able to certify its results.
Right. And then after the Capitol was attacked that day and everything like that, and everything happened, and people his lives were at risk, even Republicans' lives and stuff. These same motherfuckers most of them still decided they're going to vote the way
Yeah.
they were going to, even after all this happened, which just shows you how unshameful, how they have no shame, and how they wanted this to happen. Like that's the biggest tell, was that this wasn't just some like, this is something we disagree on, and this is a battle of ideas, and we need to come together and talk. That's bullshit. These guys were there to try to assert democracy. They saw people try to attempt a violent coup.
Yep.
And after all was said and done, and the country was in shock at seeing it, the same Republicans, I think like one or two flaked out of it and decided they didn't want to partake. But the majority of the ones that were going to do it still voted the same way and tried to put a stop to Biden getting into the White House.
Yeah.
It is the most ridiculous thing. And Jim Jordan and Jim Banks were two of the people that were for that.
Well, there's a third congressman that also voted against, but Pelosi let on the committee. She didn't reject him.
Really? Why?
A guy from Texas. She said that the fact that they voted against the election wasn't the only criteria. Here's my theory. I don't know if I'm correct. It's just my theory. She thinks they're going to call Jim Jordan and Jim Banks are going to be witnesses, or they're going to be called to testify.
Because they partaked in it.
Yeah, because Jim Jordan like riled all this shit up. He's a suspect. He's not a juror. He's a fucking suspect.
Well, that was always the joke about like the Trump impeachment was with Nunes and everything, was that like, the joke I was saying, like at some point it would be like, oh, Nunes, now it's your turn. You're
right.
You're one of the people that we're investigating. You know, it's like,
well,
so yeah, that's probably a good point. And also we know how Jim Jordan is. I mean, come on, like anyone comments knows how horrible he is, and it would turn into a complete joke. And he would bring up every insane. I mean, the guy is an animal. This guy is such a piece of shit that he let children get molested in not children, I guess, like, was it a college?
Yeah, it was a college. They were probably
whatever.
18.
Young
adults.
People get molested by a doctor, and he sat back and he was okay with it.
Yeah.
He basically, and he's in Congress. I mean, this guy's a turd. Like, and we know how he is. He's horrible. He, like, if you watched him, he's gross.
He's rude as fuck. He's always talking over people. He's real combative. He's
I mean, he's good at what he does.
Sure.
You know, I'm not complimenting him. I mean, he's good at being a turd.
Yeah.
And you know, he will. If you want this to be serious, a real serious thing, you can't have a person like that there.
No.
And and that's like you said. Yeah, it's probably like this guy might actually be on trial. Like he's a suspect. I would think Boebert would be one of them, just because. Her phone records. He was giving like a tour the day before that, because again, all these people, like, there were morons that got in, like the lady who was knitting a sweater or whatever, and then there was like morons like the shaman, Viking shaman, QAnon douchebag guy.
QAnon shaman, yeah.
Maybe even this guy who's serving jail time was just some douchebag. We don't know how deep in he was, right?
Right.
But they were people that were there to get information. They knew where to go. They knew where offices were. They were given, like they said, that like you can't just go there. You wouldn't know where anyone is.
Yeah.
They knew. They were given information. They had inside information on like where the offices were and everything. So this shit is fucking serious.
It is. And my suspicion is that if they do start looking, they probably will find all sorts of like incriminating shit from like that Paul Gosar from Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Lauren Boebert. And, you know, I mean, there's probably a few
Marjorie
of them.
Taylor Greene's going to be one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, could be. I mean, like, that's going to be an incredibly interesting period of time. And look, I'm glad they kicked Jim Jordan. He's not a serious person.
He would turn it into a circus.
Yeah, I think that there's probably plenty of Republicans that I hate that would have been fine. You know what I mean? Like, if you told me it was going to be I don't know. I mean, like some random
Matt
congressperson.
Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz. Well, I'm trying to think. I don't know of any like great Republican congresspersons.
It doesn't. They're not going to do what he does. Like
Yeah.
Jim Jordan is like an exceptional level of grossness that
Right.
like he has the ability to turn it into a circus.
Yeah.
And we witnessed it. We already saw that, and she's probably like tired of his shit.
Right.
You gotta put a power move. Fuck this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. She's fucking Speaker of the House. Come on. I always find it so much bullshit sometimes. Like, in a way, you could even look back and be like, she's probably somewhat a little bit. You could say she's still a little bit somewhat responsible for January 6th. She couldn't let these motherfuckers get away with it.
Yeah. She should have been on the phone with the Capitol Police saying, like, look, you break out the rubber bullets. You got to do something. You got to
treat it like the way you would treat hey, give them the what was it, that park?
Lafayette Square. Yeah,
give them the Lafayette Square treatment. You guys are good at that. Come on.
Yeah. So
we know you got this in you. Come on, you can do it. You rubber bullets out, gas cans.
Right.
Like,
pretend it's refugees wanting health care.
Yeah, there you go. It's hey, listen, you're at a Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Pretend you're at a Black Lives Matter rally. Look, it's Antifa. They're everywhere. The right wing claimed they were Antifa. And I would say to the right wing, if they were Antifa, half those people would have been killed that day. Well, like half the people who, if it was Antifa at the Capitol, or whatever the right wing thinks Antifa is, half those people would have been killed.
Yeah, I would say it
wouldn't be 6 people; it'd be like 600 people would have been outright shot and killed if people actually went there. But the reality is, at the end of the day, the people who came on January 6th were working with Donald Trump. They were there for Trump. They were part of the machine. They were not. They were not there to fight for our rights. They were not there to fight for the American spirit or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It was quite the opposite.
Yeah, it is. It's something. The committee set up. Pelosi put her people on it. She invited McCarthy to put 5 people on it. McCarthy nominated those 5. Pelosi rejected 2 of them, and then McCarthy pulled all of his people. So there's no Republican nominated Republicans on the
he
committee.
said he's going to do his own investigation.
Yeah, sure.
He's wearing a hot dog suit.
Yes.
What's that show called again?
I Think You Should Be Leaving.
Yeah, if you guys want to watch I Think You Should Be Leaving on Netflix. It's a great show. There's one episode where a guy like in a hot dog suit or something.
Yeah, he's in it opens up with a hot dog car crashed into a storefront, and everyone's like trying to see if people are okay and stuff, and a guy in a hot dog costume says, "We got to find who did this."
Yeah, and everyone's like looking at him like,
clearly it was you.
Yeah, so Kevin McCarthy saying that we need to do it, he's going to do his own investigation is like,
yeah, this reminds me of OJ's efforts to find the real killer.
Right. And he's still looking. It's been like 30 years, but I trust OJ's going to find out. OJ, every time he walks by, like in the bathroom, washes his face, looks here, and he goes, never mind.
Yeah.
Wait, no, he got away. He leaves the room.
He's wily.
That guy got away.
Now, all the media has said that this is great. This played right into the Republicans' hands. I don't see it,
Yeah, how?
This committee has subpoena power. It can compel testimony. Look, you guys don't want to play. That's fine. Someone has said Pelosi should nominate McCarthy's Republicans for him. The fuck? Why? Bring in 5 more Democrats.
Well, who are the Democrats? Do you know who they are?
Adam Schiff is one.
That's good.
I don't remember who the others are. They were all like
one of them.
No.
He would have been a good one.
Well, Liz Cheney was a Republican that Pelosi nominated, and some people are saying that she should replace. She should pick 5 Republicans to replace the ones McCarthy wouldn't, including people like Kissinger. That other.
I'm sure she could find 5 easily. But what would McCarthy do? Would he just lose his shit or something?
He just said, well, we're not, this is so political. McCarthy is the motherfucker who literally said we're having these Benghazi hearings to ding Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Republicans just say whatever the fuck they want. The media lets them get away with it.
Well,
no, they should not buckle. They should not. They should not buckle.
No.
They should expose these motherfuckers. If it leads to even one fucking arrest I don't think, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm not confident anything's going to come out of this. I think it's going to be like a 9/11 hearing. Like, remember there was like the 9/11 hearings, and there was like a book. And at the end of the day, did it amount to shit? Like, it didn't matter because we were in Iraq and like million people were dying every day, and it was like a huge waste of resources and everything. And then we had this like book and everything, and I was like, who cares? It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit what happened with 9/11? Like, we're in this endless war now that was basically used by 9/11. So I feel like something's got to come out of this, or it's going to be like the same thing, like a 9/11 thing, where it's just like, the Republicans House again. You know what I mean? Like, something's got to come out of this, so that like a certain element in the Republican Party is like considered.
There needs to be some consequences. There needs to be some real tangible consequences. People need to go to jail. People need to, be brought to trial.
People need to be like removed from power.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I don't know what will come out of it. Is what I'm saying. Like.
Well, I think if I remember right, most of these committees are set up with like a weird goal. And I think this was true of the 9/11 and the Benghazi and all those others. I think they're all set up to find out what happened and how to prevent it from happening again. You know what I mean? I don't think this is a prosecution per se, and like, let's figure out how we can nail these people. That's not what this committee is. This committee is to discover what happened. And that's kind of the interesting thing, is because they'll look at Trump and what he said, and Trump Jr. and what he said, and Rita Repulsa and what she said.
Oh yeah, the whole entire family is like completely. Didn't you say another Trump crony got arrested?
Yeah, it was a guy who was in charge of his inaugural committee.
Oh yeah, and that ties right back to Kushner and Ivanka, because they were in that committee.
Yeah, for sure. And let's see, what was the guy's name? He was head of the inaugural committee. It was a weird name. It was a name that was a lot like some other name.
Ted Nugent?
Ted Nugent. No, it wasn't Ted Nugent. It was God, here he is right here. He was arrested. I think he's still in jail. I meant to look that up today.
Whatever.
Tom Barrack. Because I saw Barrack trending, and I was like, oh, maybe it's Barack Obama, and they just.
Oh yeah, I thought it said Barack.
Yeah, no, that was trending a lot yesterday, but it was just people misspelling Tom Barrack's last name, or us looking at it quickly and mistaking it. But he was an asshole. He's like a capital venture capitalist, and
his son to space too.
Yeah, well now he's worried about a different kind of space.
Very enclosed space.
He wants a safe space because he's in lockup.
So again, though, like, that was always the funny thing about like the Trump administration, was if you wanted to know the Trump administration was complete grift, all you had to do was look at their inauguration.
All crooks.
From the start, that thing was like one of the most corrupt. Now, there's always supposedly some shadiness with inaugurations all the time. But this one's like the worst of the worst. I mean, they got like millions and millions of dollars, and like they said, like, you could tell none of that money was spent.
It's like plates of McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Yeah, like the whole thing was a grift, and I think like Ivanka was part of that and everything. So this one might, again, I don't know if this is going to lead to any Trump people going to jail. I have no idea, but I'm assuming as these guys keep getting chipped closer and closer, it kind of just, that armor, that outer shell is going to expose that chocolate center.
Yeah, I think that's
You know.
I think that's real true, and I mean, all we can do is wait and see what happens. But like, I will be super disappointed if there are no charges or no consequences, just because they did such a number on the country for 4 years.
Yeah, everything. I mean, these motherfuckers we're in a situation in COVID because of Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about COVID earlier, like we are literally like that's what's so disgusting about like all this and like with the right wing machine is they gave us Trump.
Yeah.
They gave us Trump. He fucked up COVID, kind of like on purpose in a way. On top of every other horrible thing he did, but the COVID thing is possibly the worst thing because
it's the most like deadly for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like almost a million Americans were basically killed because of these fuckers. And then on top of it, the icing on the cake is they try to destroy the election January 6th.
They're not done. They want more.
And then on top of that, they're spreading lies about we have the thing that, and I knew they were going to do this because we knew they were going to, which is weird because a lot of the right wing messaging was like around like October last year during the election. They were making like these false promises, like as if the vaccine was going to be available or something. And like all the right wing was like, oh, no one wants to thank Trump or anything. Like, where's the vaccine? What are you talking about? You motherfuckers weren't going to take it anyway.
Yeah.
But they spread like all this misinformation to basically stop people from getting the vaccine. I mean, the whole thing is just one shit show after another. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, this as some of these people, it is. You know what's fucked up? We'll wrap up this whole thing and talk about Loki in a second, but like. They said most of the misinformation on COVID can be linked back to like a couple of groups, and some of them are like vitamin supplement companies and
it's
shit.
Like 12 people. That's what I 12 accounts on Facebook. They said accounted for like 80% of the coronavirus misinformation.
One of them is some douchebag who's like sells supplements. It's like it's all like fake medicine bullshit, like
essential oils and stuff.
Yeah, like. It is in their economic interest to have people not spend money on this and have them waste money on other things.
Literally taking advantage of a pandemic and putting thousands of lives at risk to make a small amount of money.
Well, for them, a lot of money, but in the big picture.
Yeah, well, sure.
It's like going back to like Jeff Bezos going to space. It's like, it was a big deal for him, but me looking at for society, I'm like, you just went on a rocket and just, it's like me going up to the top of the Empire State Building. It's like, okay, cool.
Right.
Like, nice. That looks like a dick too on the top, you go to the bell end, but like, I'm just saying like, and speaking of coronavirus, I forgot to bring this up. Did I say that? I feel like we talked about some things before Sometimes we'll talk about things before the podcast, and I forget but it said that the man made like $80 billion. He like doubled his wealth or tripled it during the pandemic. A lot of these billionaires like doubled their wealth during the pandemic.
Oh yeah. Well, the flip side to that, very, very few people made out very well. A lot of people made out poorly economically, but this is 100% Trump. This is like the Trump legacy. This was the first time since World War II that our national lifespan average decreased.
Oh yeah, it's decreased over the years. And I don't even know that. I think that might have even been before the pandemic.
But during the last 4 years, it peaked, and then Trump took office. And admittedly, it's not like all of these things are his fault, but Trump oversaw. Well,
you put in like less regulations, you put in all these factors involved. You're
less access to healthcare.
You're poisoning in the air more. You're killing people. Like you literally like people. Like I remember Trump would go on TV and say things about like we're getting rid of regulations. I'm like, who would cheer for this?
It's crazy.
Yes, I want to get cancer from drinking the water. Like, who would cheer this? I want cranes to fall in the city, all the time. Like, we don't need regulations. I want houses to just crumble at like a 30-mile-an-hour wind. You know, like fuck. Who would cheer this on except for him?
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess the last thing before we talk about something was
Yeah.
Did I bring up the thing about Candace Owens with the Medicaid?
We briefly touched on that, but that wasn't anything we covered in real depth.
Okay,
Candace Owens.
Okay, so Candace Owens is a horrible person.
Yes.
And we talked about it. She's a white supremacist.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a black person, but she's a white supremacist.
Yeah.
She talks for the Republican Party. She lies. She pushes their bullshit. She pushes their agenda. Yeah, that's what she is. But she also spreads anti-vaxxer shit all the time. She constantly pushes anti-vaxxer shit. But one of the things she said recently, which was brilliant, and I brought this up, a lot of right-wingers have been saying this for a while now, but she keeps saying it with no irony whatsoever. I'm blown away by this. Let me see if I can find it. Her exact tweet. It's like
it's an interesting one. And she's tweeted stuff like this before, you know.
Oh, here we go. The COVID vaccine saves lives, which is why the government's making it free. She puts it in quotes. Okay, so explain to me why insulin asthma inhalers cost so much money.
Right. Why?
That's a good question. Yeah, that is. If the vaccines are really about the government trying to save your life, why do life-saving medicines cost so much? Gee, I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder. And then she tried to backpedal.
Yeah, I saw the backpedaling. It was pretty
You're
clumsy.
advocating for Medicare for all. I never agreed with her before, but I agree with her with this. Yeah. And I find it funny because I don't know why she's saying it now, when like the past month other right-wingers were saying this, and people were also coming out and saying like, hey, you do realize like you're advocating for government health care. Like you're basically saying, yeah, you're right. Like things are really expensive. Like the COVID vaccine proves that in theory that like we can provide actually. Yeah. That like it's amazing. It like people like say these people are stupid, but I don't know. I don't know if they're stupid or just their heads are so shoved up their own ass. They don't realize what they're saying. They don't realize what
I think that's a big chunk of it. I think a lot of these people don't have any critical thoughts about what they do. They root for anti-mask legislation like they root for the local baseball team, you know?
Well, it's like somebody brought up, I was watching this thing, it was debates. It was like Vosh was watching it. He was analyzing a debate between Charlie Kirk and Sam Cedars, and they were arguing over like healthcare or whatever. They were arguing over something to do with jobs or whatever. And Charlie Kirk would find himself like agreeing and almost like advocating for like, oh yeah, we should do this, this, and this. But then he has to like backpedal because it contradicted with his message that he's basically a hack for the Republican Party, who are really lobbyists for polluters and big industry and regulators. So he like, I agree with the solutions, but no, we can't do those things. So of course Candace Owens will say something like, why don't we have insulin and asthma inhalers or anything like that? Well, you're right. But if we come up with any solution that says, why are these so expensive? You say it's bad communism. Yeah. All right. That's right. Speaking of more fun. Yeah. We talked about Loki. Yeah. And fictional villains, not real life villains. The Loki show is over. You can, if you listen to our last 6 episodes. Yeah. We basically talked about each episode and within our episode. Right. And we did a short episode last week because Joseph decided to go to Florida for some reason. He was like, you know what? I don't think the Delta variant's bad enough here. Why don't I go to the place where it's really thriving? He wanted to live on the edge. Yes. Yeah. So we got to meet the new villain of the Marvel universe.
Kang.
Well, he wasn't Kang in this. He was
True.
He was talking about a variant, a Delta variant. I guess Kang is the Delta variant of this variant of Kang. He didn't even give his name. He wasn't. There's a Mortis. There's other names that this character has. But people have brought up a good, interesting point. It's almost interesting that they had the actor who was cast to play Kang. You introduce him in Loki, and he's like the big bad of the show, but he's like not really the big bad. He's almost like the wizard in the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
He makes like he like offers them like, hey, why don't you guys run the TVA? I'm old. I don't want to do this anymore.
There were a lot of Wizard of Oz parallels. That's 100% true.
But the interesting about him is like he's telling you like there's worse versions of me. Like what was it like? You don't like the dictator you have now. You better have something ready because this dictator that's going to come next is, I mean, it's kind of funny. I was like, thinking about it with Loki. It's like it was almost like parallels to like the Iraq War, and with Rumsfeld dying, the one thing Rumsfeld was famous for with the Iraq War was how he basically did nothing after they took Saddam out.
Mm-hmm.
He did nothing to stabilize the country. He destabilized the country, actually, and then it turned into absolute chaos. And that's why we were there for years. Now, I know people would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you talking about this when you talk about Loki? There's this thing about fiction and writing and human experience, which involves politics and religion. It's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Like, a contract supreme or invading a country. Those are human experiences. And
right.
You have human experiences and you're a creator, you're a creative, you write, you tend to borrow from the human experience, unless you're like, I don't know, Zack Snyder, and you're like a weird robot.
Sure. But for the most part, you're a product of your environment to some extent.
Yeah, you're a product of your environment and you kind of reflect off that. And Kang, historically speaking, whenever a dictator or whatever was taken out or something, or the bad guy, if you didn't have something ready, usually something worse comes along. And Loki didn't want, he's like, do not kill him. Like, Sylvie was like, I'm ready to kill this guy. This guy ruined my childhood. Like kind of what happened. Her childhood ruined by this guy. Like her life was kind of ruined by it. So
there was a weird Thanos Gamora parallel there, I thought.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Not exactly, but close.
No, a bit. There's a connection, and this guy, regardless, was her villain. Like, and like there's justice had to be served. And she was one of the victims of this guy trying to keep things stable, quote unquote. And Loki's like, no, we got. So there's like a little bit of a like philosophy of like, what do we do with this guy? But then when Sylvie stabs this guy that we're not really sure, he's basically like much worse thing is coming.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like if you met Thanos in the beginning, but he was just like a goofy punster.
Yeah, middle manager or something. Like
what?
Middle manager or something.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I'm just some guy, a big purple guy who's kind of lovable. I want to keep society going. But if you get rid of me, the other guy's going to come with the fucking helicopter blades. And
it was a lot of times with Marvel villains, I don't understand their plans. Like, I don't understand what they want or why they want it that way, or I don't understand.
You're talking about the movie.
Yeah.
Not the comics, but the movie.
Right. In the movies, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm like, I get why that villain is there and they're kind of interesting, but like, this guy had a real clear motivation. And
but he's also not the villain.
Right. That was the other cool thing, is that like you can get doses of him. Like I saw this guy, the guy at the what did they call him? The man, He Who Remains.
Yeah.
So I saw He Who Remains, and I thought he was a bad guy. I wanted Loki to kind of beat him to whatever that meant. But I also kind of liked him because he was kind of, I was sympathized. I was like, oh yeah, I guess he's in a kind of a tough spot too. And he was kind of funny and he was kind of charming and all that.
Blind.
So what?
wise.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he's like, yeah, okay, this villain's got his shit together, and all he really wants is
He just wanted to go to
to,
space, you know?
yeah, well, he wanted to wreck a few lives to keep peace. And I'm like, okay, that's actually like, I can see how that would be a dilemma. And then you also presumably get to see more terrible versions of him in other characters played by the same actor. So it's weird. You'll have a certain amount of goodwill built up to that character, and then you'll see the same guy playing a different character. It'll be interesting.
It's
I think
interesting.
it's,
Like I said, it's like, oh, I'm a version like Marvel. It's interesting. Like they gave you a tease of their next big villain, but like what, because they got the actor and everything.
yeah,
But like guy was more like just like, hey, I'm just more like the messenger or something. Like I'm telling you like everything that you basically like. It's probably best you leave me here or
right.
something. Like there's literally, I am like holding back.
Yeah.
Like what do you call it? Like the dam. Like I'm holding back like some sea of bad shit that's gonna come through.
I'm like a little Dutch boy, just holding back the echoes of space.
Just a simple, extremely wealthy
Yeah.
boy going to space, you know. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like I said, I just thought that was kind of cool. It's like here's, you know, it's like here's the Red Skull, but like it's not the Red Skull.
Right.
Like, this guy's not a Nazi. He's like listen, I listen to like the Daily Wire, and like Steven Crowder, but I don't think I'm a Nazi. But if you kill me, there's a guy who likes the Daily Storm.
Right. Well, it is. I thought it's kind of clever because you could even see instances where heroes go to this better version of Kang to help fight the worser versions of Kang. I mean, like, there's a lot of potential, and I see the motivations of these villains. I see it all kind of clicks like pretty quickly. So
it's a cool way to introduce a major villain.
Absolutely.
You know, like I found that to be really creative, and it probably works better on a show.
Yeah.
I feel like this is where we haven't seen Black Widow yet.
No.
Maybe next week or something, you know, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. We'll see. You know, I don't know if I want to sit the Delta variant of Black Widow or something. We'll see.
Sure.
But like, I feel like Disney fucked up by like they thought it was more important to release Black Widow, you know, when people could go to the theaters more. And I think they should have just released it like last fall, because from what I'm hearing, it's like it's okay. It's good. It's not like the best Marvel movie. It's decent. People are there's of course like there's chuds who like hate it just because it's like
right.
Cool.
I heard it was solid. I heard it was like a solid.
I feel like having these shows come out that are really interesting, having 3 solid shows come out, and you just finish Loki, and then Black Widow comes out, and it's like it takes place still. It's like almost like a filler movie. Like it doesn't. It's in between Civil War. And,
it's inconsequential because it's already happened.
Yeah, like you know she's dead from the Infinity War. And it kind of like hurts the movie. It's like I almost feel like everyone was like talking about Loki, and even people who saw Black Widow were not talking about Black Widow. It'd
be tough. Loki was so good and free, you know, presuming that you paid for the minimal subscription.
You're paying
cost.
Your monthly fee or whatever, yearly fee to see.
And Black Widow's probably not as good as Loki and costs $30. That's a tough spot.
Theater, if you're going to a theater.
That's a tough spot to put a movie in.
I think they made a mistake. I think they should have just released it in the fall. They should have released it before these shows came out, because I think it like kind of sucked the wind out of the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't know. I still want to see it. But
me too.
Everybody was talking about Loki, and no one was talking about. Literally, I don't think anyone was really.
Yeah, very few.
All right. Well, we talked a lot about stuff. All good things, right?
All good things, yeah.
All good, all positive. This was a positive, probably one of the most
deadly viruses and treason.
Gloom, a little treason, a little bit out of control pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just another week in YSGOATville.
Just another day on Earth.
just another day on Earth. We're just 1/8. You know what, Joseph? You work hard. You work hard and work hard enough, put in the hours on that. One day you too can get into a phallic shape.
Yeah, I hope.
And just kind of go into space and just kind of look outside. I don't know. And they're like, hey, why don't you guys look outside? We've
Dare to
seen that.
dream.
I've seen pictures of the Earth. I don't know why I'm moving up here. All right. Well, in that case, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that.
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please like, comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.